The significance of him passing on the Easter Monday, how does that strike you?
High significance. I always say this, we can't choreograph the way we go. But if you could, this wasn't bad. So yesterday was the day that the Christian world celebrated resurrection, new life, that Jesus conquered death and shares his triumph with us. And then we wake up the next morning to hear that his representative here on earth, the Bishop of Rome, the successor of Peter, our Holy Father the Pope, had actually passed over, to borrow the word from our Jewish neighbors, from life here to life everlasting. You couldn't have choreographed it better. And so I think you'd almost think he had planned it, which we know he didn't, but God planned it.
So we are just getting some breaking news now of the official cause of death of the Pope, that he had a stroke early this morning. He went into a coma, he had a heart attack, and later died. Pope Francis was 88 years old.
Singapore has been hailed by Pope Francis as an example of how different ethnicities, cultures and religions can coexist in harmony. This especially in a time of conflicts raging around the world.
The Fourth Revolution, terrorized by Klaus Schwab and the family of international finance, find in Bergoglio not a neutral spectator, which would itself already be an unheard of thing, but actually a zealous cooperator who abuses his own moral authority in order to support a destra outside the church the project of the dissolution of traditional society. While ad intra within the church, he pursues the project of the demolition of the church in order to replace her with a philanthropic organization of Masonic inspiration. And it is scandalous. This applies to both, to civil and ecclesiastical world, confirming the pactum celeri, the criminal conspiracy between the deep state and the deep church. It seems to me that in this conspiracy the role of the Jesuit has been decisive. It is no coincidence that for the first time in history, a religious of the Society of Jesus is seated on the throne of Peter.
The feeling in St. Peter's, I think, is one of surprise. People are a bit stunned that this news of the Pope's passing should come immediately on the heels of Easter Sunday, when we all watched the Pope give this blessing from the facade, the loggia of St. Peter's Basilica, blessing the city and the world. In a way, it's a very fitting ending. Obviously, the last act of a papacy is a blessing to the entire world.
The contradictory updates being given about Jorge Mario Bergoglio's medical condition casts a disturbing light on the way Vatican communications are being managed. There are those who believe that the Pope is already deceased, and that this fact is being kept hidden from the public. It is clear that the Vatican and the Bergoglian Deep Church are in a panic, and we do everything to gather the consensus of the cardinals together around the name of someone who will continue the Bergoglian revolution. There are those who have every interest in burying their own crimes, along with those of Bergoglio, while in the United States there is a head-on clash of the U.S. Bishops' Conference against the Trump administration, after the scandal regarding the funds of the Agency for International Development, USAID, has brought to light the complicity of the Catholic Church in the lucrative business of immigration. It is necessary to prevent the progressive hierarchy from ensuring that one of their own is Bergoglio's successor, that is, another usurper on the throne of Peter will be their heir and continuator of the previous one. Before hammering the final nails into Bergoglio's coffin, it is therefore essential and urgent that the light be shed on the usurpation he perpetrated and on the occupation of the Catholic Church by a corrupt and treacherous hierarchy whose sole aim is to destroy her from within.
If you look at Pope Francis and you look at the doctrine and some of his speeches, his statements, his homilies, I mean, he doesn't fit neatly in any particular
Way to go, Savannah.
box.
You said it well. He was tough to categorize. He told us once, there was a group of American bishops when we met with him. He said, I have a great habit of getting everybody mad at me because people would be upset with them. You know, so on the one hand, he would speak about a much more sensitive, expansive role of women. And then the next day he'd say, absolutely no women priests. All right. One day he would speak about we need to be concerned about all life, not just the life of the baby in the womb. The next day he would compare an abortion to hiring an assassin to take an innocent life. He kind of was tough to categorize. We like tidy political categories.
Yeah.
You don't get them when it comes to a pope. And that's a style that I think is good too. Tough to kind of put into a box.
Well, these are going to be fascinating days.
Una delle cose che più mi ha colpito di voi giovani, di questi qui, no? È la capacità del dialogo interreligioso.
One of the things that struck me about all of you here is your ability to engage in interreligious dialogue.
E questo è molto importante.
And this is very important.
Perché se voi incominciate a litigare, la mia religione è più importante della tua, la mia è la vera, la tua non è vera, dove ci porta questo?
Because if we start to fight amongst ourselves and saying, my religion is more important than yours, my religion is true, yours is not, where will that lead us?
Dove?
Where will it lead us?
Qualcuno risponda, dove?
Someone respond. Where would it lead us? La distruzione.
È cosa così. E ci vuole litigare.
Yes, it's okay to discuss and to...
Tutte le religioni sono un cammino per arrivare a Dio.
Because every religion is a way to arrive at God.
Sono, dirò una comparazione, sono come diverse lingue, diversi idiomi per arrivare lì.
Sort of a comparison, an example would be they're sort of like different languages in order to arrive at God.
Ma Dio è Dio per tutti.
But God is God for all.
E come Dio è Dio per tutti, noi siamo tutti figli di Dio.
And if God is God for all, then we're all sons and daughters of God.
Ma il mio Dio è più importante del tuo.
But my God is more important than your God.
È vero quello?
Is that true?
C'è un solo Dio lì. E noi sono idiomi, cammino, lingue per arrivare a Dio.
There's only one God, and each of us is a language, so to speak, in order to arrive at God.
Qualcuno è Sikh, qualcuno musulmano, qualcuno
Sikh, Muslim,
Hindi, qualcuno cristiano,
Indo,
ma
Christian.
sono diversi cammini.
There are different paths.
Understood?
He also met with Prime Minister Lawrence Wong, who later said they had a good discussion on the importance of interfaith dialogue and religious harmony. And that was a key theme in the Pope's state address, as he commended Singapore for its inclusiveness.
Il rispetto reciproco, la collaborazione, il dialogo e la libertà di professare il proprio credo nella lealtà alla legge comune sono condizioni determinanti del successo e della stabilità ottenuti da Singapore, requisiti per uno sviluppo non conflittuale e caotico, ma uno sviluppo equilibrato e sostenibile.
This message was echoed by President Tharman. He noted that diversity is not only tolerated in Singapore, but embraced and viewed as bringing richness to people's lives. The president added that forging a culture of accommodation and trust takes consistent and continuing effort.